The silence that had settled over the Balkans was shattered not by a single strike, but by a cascade of thunder. For the Bulgarian army, the retreat from Macedonia had been a humiliating disaster, but for the Balkan Shield, it was the start of a triumphant counteroffensive. While Romanian tanks raced toward the Black Sea, Macedonian and Serbian divisions poured over the Vardar River into eastern Macedonia. What Bulgaria had seized in 3 days, the Shield prepared to reclaim in one furious counterattack. The pace of the advance stunned even the commanders themselves. Along the broken roads of eastern Macedonia, abandoned Bulgarian supply trucks stood like tombstones of a defeated army. The air smelled of fuel and scorched rubber, of men who had fled in panic. Rearguard detachments tried to buy time with ambushes, setting up machine guns on ridgelines and blocking bridges with mines. But they were swept aside with ruthless efficiency. The battles were brief, more pursuit than fight. A relentless chase of an army already broken. Skopje to Belgrade. Eastern Macedonia is retaken. Our forces now push across the border. They have offered little resistance. Belgrade to Skopje. Secure your ground. Your advance is the tip of our spear. Hit them where it hurts. The message captured the mood perfectly. For Macedonia, this was not just strategy, it was revenge. Their armored battalions, kept in reserve during the desperate defense of their homeland, now roared forward with engines screaming. South of the Pirin Mountains, they cut a path toward the Bulgarian border city of Petric. The clash was brief but brutal. Armored columns rolling into streets where panicked defenders scattered in every direction. Within hours, Petric fell, its garrison surrendering or fleeing north. But the Macedonians did not stop. Their spearhead pushed on to Sandanski, a far more vital stronghold. Here, the Bulgarians resisted with the bitterness of men who knew retreat was no longer an option. Barricades choked the roads, artillery shelled every approach, and snipers turned every ruined building into a trap. For half a day, Macedonian tanks fought street by street, house by house. Flames consumed whole blocks, artillery pounded the outskirts, and the thunder of close-quarters fighting shook the valley. By nightfall, Sandanski was theirs. The survivors who escaped north carried only grim news. The Shield was inside Bulgaria. Meanwhile, to the east, Serbian divisions surged in parallel, their armored columns rolling across the borderlands into Blagoevgrad. The defense was poorly organized, reservists, militia, and conscripts trying to hold against hardened mechanized brigades. Serbian artillery shelled the approaches relentlessly, pounding bunkers into rubble before the infantry moved in to sweep the ruins. By evening, the city was in Serbian hands. Its fall severed a vital artery, a logistical hub and escape route for Bulgaria's southern army. The Shield had not only reclaimed what was lost, it was now carving into Bulgaria itself. In Sofia, the mood was one of disbelief. Inside a dimly lit command post, generals bent over maps that shrank by the hour. 2 fronts were active, both bleeding their army dry. The Romanian invasion from the north was bad enough, but the new counteroffensive from the south was a psychological blow. With their army stretched and broken, they knew they could not hold. A message, heavy with the weight of defeat, was sent to the rest of the alliance. Sofia to Zagreb. Our lines are collapsing. We need immediate, direct aid. The capital is at risk. We are a hair's breadth from falling. In the capitals of the Two Seas Alliance, the word sent shockwaves. Bulgaria, the shield of their southern flank, was shattering. They had expected stubborn resistance, a defense that would bleed the shield dry. Instead, Bulgaria looked more like a domino toppling in slow motion. If it fell, the road into their alliance heartland would lie open. The question was no longer whether to act, but how. In Zagreb, the leaders of the alliance gathered in emergency session. The air was tense, thick with the smell of sweat and cigarette smoke. Maps of Bulgaria and Serbia sprawled across tables, marked with red and blue arrows. The verdict came swiftly. They could not waste their strength saving Bulgaria directly. Instead, they would strike where it hurt most, at the center of the Balkan Shield, Serbia. The decision was as ruthless as it was logical. If Serbia could be forced to defend its own homeland, it would have no choice but to recall troops from the Bulgarian front. Pressure on Sofia would ease, and the alliance might stabilize its crumbling line. The plan was bold, dangerous, and immediate. Zagreb to Ljubljana. The time to strike is now. Launch a full-scale invasion of Serbia from the north. Hit them where they are weakest. A combined Croatian, Slovenian, and Bosnian force, long prepared and waiting on the northern border, surged into Serbia. The primary assault was a two-pronged attack, one thrust from Vukovar toward Novi Sad, and another from the Bosnian border toward Šabac. The goal was to seize key cities, overwhelm Serbian defenses, and force a total recall of Serbian forces from the front lines. At first, the attacks seemed successful. Croatian tanks rolled across the border, and Bosnian infantry pushed through the mountains toward Serbia. Serbian defensive forces, a mix of reservists and border guards, were stretched thin but held their ground. The fighting was fierce, a grinding struggle for every village and every road. But the attackers soon realized that Serbia was not alone. Belgrade to Bucharest, the Two Seas Alliance has attacked. We need aid on our northern and western fronts. Bucharest to Belgrade. Our forces are at your disposal. Our pact holds. Romanian wings arrived from the north not as diplomats but as weapons. Fighter squadrons thinned the skies above the front, their strikes chopping into approaching columns. Strike aircraft hammered supply nodes and assembly points. Artillery that had been destined for Bulgaria now smote the invaders at the Serbian line. The combined Serbian-Romanian defense stiffened into a living barrier. Croatian columns found themselves flanked. Bosnian advances slowed by entrenched fire, and the dream of a quick seizure of Novi Sad and Šabac ran aground. Yet elsewhere, the alliance's gamble bore fruit. As Serbian eyes turned to meet the northern assault, Albanian and Kosovar forces struck in the west. While the Croatian gambit faltered, Albania and the Kosovo insurgents, seeing their opportunity, launched their attack. Their offensive was a brutal, determined push into western Kosovo, aiming to reclaim key strategic towns they had lost. Tirana, the main force is distracted. Strike hard and fast. Reclaim what is ours. The Albanian offensive moved furious and unrelenting, a storm of infantry and mobile teams designed for urban brutality. In Pea, the fighting was unforgiving. Alleyways became killing corridors. Apartment blocks turned into fortresses, and the battle took on the character of close-quarters slaughter. Serbian defenders, reservists, local Serbs pressed into desperate defense, held ground with courage, but weight and coordination favored the attackers. In bloody, grinding urban combat, the Albanians seized Pea. The city fell after hours of fighting that left streets carved in smoke and ruin. The losses were significant, but from Belgrade, the news was received with a grim sense of victory. They had held the main fronts, and while a city was lost, they had not been broken. They were still on the offensive in Bulgaria and had successfully repelled a major attack on their homeland. But as the armies fought, a new, unforeseen player entered the game. In Ankara, the leaders of Turkey had watched the chaos unfold. The Two Seas Alliance's invasion of Serbia the Balkan Shield's counteroffensive, the bloody fighting in Kosovo. It was all a symphony of distraction. They saw an opportunity, a moment to strike a blow that would forever change the balance of power in the Balkans. Bulgaria is exhausted. The moment is now. Advance. Turkish armored formations, long-massed and patient along Komotini and the eastern approaches, surged northward with the speed and discipline of a nation that had prepared for this hour. Their columns did not seek pitched battle so much as territory. Fast, overwhelming advance to seize key hubs before defenders could rally. Plovdiv, taken in a day, surrendered more to shock than force. Exhausted Bulgarian units offered token resistance before melting away. Burgas, the gateway to the Black Sea, opened its gates under the shadow of the Turkish standard. The scope of the Turkish drive stunned every command in the region. Where Bulgaria still fought, it fought on foreign soil. Where Bulgaria retreated, it fled toward a future that no map could promise. With Bulgarian forces diverted and diminished, the Two Seas Alliance and the Balkan Shield realized their regional game had become something larger. A collision with a power that could crown every victory with crushing consequence. Panic spread through war rooms like a fever. Communications that once thrummed with confident orders now crackled with pleas and fragments. Sofia, cornered and exposed, sent its last, frantic plea. Enough blood has been spilled. We call for an immediate ceasefire and a truce. Let the leaders of the Balkans meet at once to negotiate terms and stabilize the region. The message raced across the Balkans, a plea born from desperation, yet carrying the weight of survival. Whether the fractured nations would lay down their arms or let pride drag them further into ruin remained uncertain. The Balkans paused on the edge of a new chapter, one written by diplomacy or by the next salvo.